Hey guys, welcome to another speed build. So this build is based off of the Hamptons style, and if you don't know what the Hamptons style is, it's basically this style of building in New York, and it is the main style in Brindleton Bay. So that's the world that comes with cats and dogs, and a lot of the housing there is based off of the same style. So I thought I'd go along with the theme of Hamptons, and this build is right in the middle of Brindleton Bay on the 55 by 50 law, I believe. So I wanted to kind of make these arch-like structures in the front. So I do first use these archways, but then I do decide to switch, and then I use a different tool. I think it's one of the outdoor decoration tools to kind of make the similar arch style without it looking kind of off, because you'll see when I add fences, it takes the wall off, so then the arches kind of look like they're floating. So I wanted to get rid of that kind of look, and I went with something a little bit different and creative to make those arch shapes. So here I am just doing the exterior. So in this house I did the exterior first, and then I went to the interior and tried to make that fit with the outside. So the inside, I didn't want to make it like too extravagant, but I wanted to make it sort of like a family kind of home, where it's still kind of homey. It's not too like elegant and like fancy. You can't touch anything like that. Like, don't want it to be like a family lives here and all that. So right here, I'm making an archway. So I do end up taking the arch out here, and I do end up kind of taking the wall out and making it more open, because a lot of the arches just aren't wide enough, especially for cars to go through, and that was meant to be sort of the driveway through to the garage. So that's basically what I'm doing here. I think I'm removing them now. And then if you see what I'm doing, I kind of add those decorations to make it look like an arch from the outside. So it doesn't do quite as well as I would have liked it to make. I'd like it to look, but I still did the best I can. I think it looks a lot better than the arches. And now I'm adding the second level, and this is something that I do a lot if I really want the exterior to look nice, because the front, that's the curb appeal from the house, and I really, really try to make sure that all my houses that I build have nice curb appeal from the front, because that's all you see first when you look at the house. So you really want to make it look intriguing, like you want to enter it just based off of what the outside looks like. So I always try to make the outside look super nice. And this is kind of a classic Hampton style with the roofs kind of on the side, as you see there, leading up to the roof on above that level. So it's kind of like a 2-level kind of roof. And I really love this because it just looks so beautiful, and it's such a different way of building, and I really like experimenting with new ways to build. So that's one of the reasons why I really enjoyed doing this. And roofs on these corners are definitely hard, but I decided to go with the octagonal roof in the end, and that really smooths it out. So I recommend, if you're doing something like this, you should definitely use a couple octagonal roofs, and then you can connect them with the normal roofs, just like I did right there. And here I am making another roofing piece similar to the one that I just did before. And I'm making some dormers here, and I love dormers. They're like one of my favorite things to make. They just add so much detail to a build, and I love it. And over here, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with that building piece over there, but I know that I want to make it another roofing piece kind of like that with dormers. So I do begin to make that, and I'm working out with the layout of it and the positioning. And sometimes it takes a while to figure things out. Some things are a bit of a struggle, so that's what I'm doing right now. But it was all worth it, because I think it came out beautifully, and I really had fun doing this build. And I ended up adding a lake next to it, which was so pretty, and I love adding water features because using the debug rocks is one of my favorite things to do. And I love playing with the terrain like I'm doing right now. And back there in between those two building areas, that's where the kind of garage area is going to be. It's more of a courtyard, but I do create a fake garage just to look like one. But as you know, there are no garages in The Sims, so I do turn that building that would be the garage into a game room. So I'm just working on the front porch here. And definitely still working on the exterior. I don't move into the interior until a little bit later because I do this landscaping first. So I really do the exterior, then the landscaping, and then the interior. And there was a lot of bedrooms, and I am more of a builder than a decorator, so I did leave the bedrooms empty. But you guys are free to download this house, decorate them, show me how you decorated them. I love to use new ways of interior decorating. Sometimes I just get sick of the same old kind of stuff. I do like experimenting with kitchens and dining rooms and living rooms. But then when it comes to the bedrooms, I do get a little bit bored. So I did leave those blank, but I did all the bathrooms. I think one of the most fun things for me about the interior is figuring out what goes where, because I love spatial relations. So I do like figuring out, oh, this bedroom goes here, then the closet goes here, and the bathroom goes here. And I wanted to make it so that there were plenty of en-suites. I think all but 3 bedrooms have an ensuite, and those 3 bedrooms share one bathroom connected to the hallway. So I tried to make that work because there was plenty of space upstairs. So I really wanted to make sure that as many bedrooms as I could get to have an ensuite. And I did want to add little closets because I just think that makes it a little more realistic. And I know in The Sims you don't need a closet, but technically if you want, like in the real life, if you want something to count as a bedroom, it does need a closet and it does need a window. So I do try to make the bedrooms kind of seem realistic. Some of them have ensuite, some of them don't, just like in real life, and some of them have windows, or most of them should have windows. I like to make all my bedrooms have windows, but some of them have closets, and most bedrooms should have closets. I don't know, that's just the way I like to do it. And now I'm adding roofing to the top of the build. This is the part where the house really comes together because this is what I'm saying is the main shape of the house. So I'm saying this house is basically going to be a square with some edges on the side. So not entirely a square, but mostly a square. And then I have to build the walls around that. And you'll see I'll do that in a couple seconds, I think, or a few minutes. And I build that giant square to fit the roof in the back, and then I start the exterior and the back of the exterior, and that part is definitely hard because I really wanted to make it cohesive with the front. So I do spend quite a little bit of time. I think I cut it out because there was so much time that I spent doing that. But right now, see, I'm working on the interior a little bit. I'm just making sure the layout is nice and the walls are good and there are no roofs cutting in. I really get annoyed by the roofs cutting in, so that's something that I really try to avoid before it's too late. I know sometimes when you finish the exterior of a house and you think it looks so nice, and then you look inside and you're like, why are there roofs covering the entire second floor? So I really try to make sure that does not happen. But yeah, now I'm extending the porch to the back and making the roofs kind of cohesive. I know they're sticking through right now. Making the roofs not stick through is a struggle, but it's so worth it, and it's kind of like a challenge, so I like it. Okay, so yeah, now I'm adding the roof, and what I did is I positioned the seasons columns with the rock at the bottom, and then put a larger column in the same spot as that, and I extended it to make it bigger, so that it looked like the whole entire column was bigger, even though the top part is usually smaller, because look at how I add those arch thingies. They are kind of big, so they would be way too big and stick out from the tiny little column of the seasons column. So I did add that second one just to make it more cohesive. And adding the chimney, of course, and what I did with the blinds, or the shutters, should I say, I used blinds that would normally be used indoors for the game, and I put those next to the outside of the windows to make the look of shutters. And I think that's a really fun part of The Sims, because you can take something and make it something that it wasn't intended for, but it can look almost perfect like that. So that's one thing that I really enjoy doing. And now I'm moving on to most of the windows. I wanted to make the windows in the back look kind of grand, so I spent a little bit of time doing that. Could not decide if I wanted the shutters or not, but I decided not to do them because I only did them on the ones that were kind of wide or ones that were singular, but like the windows, the big windows like here, I did not want to add shutters because I kind of wanted to keep it super grand almost. And then I'm adding a little entry to the balcony over here. I like that area, I stuck out a little bit. And I gave it some character. And here I'm going to pick the roofing, or not the roofing, the siding, like, and the roofing, I guess. So I wanted to make this dark, the roofing dark, because I wanted the siding to be kind of a light brick. So I did go with the vampire's brick. This is one of my favorite bricks because it comes with so many colors. It can be dark, it can be light, and I find that a lot of the brick patterns in The Sims are kind of repetitive, and that kind of annoys me because I don't want the same pattern over and over again, and it's kind of obvious, so I wanted to make it not super noticeable, and I think that this brick did a good job of doing that. And now I'm going to be kind of constructing the area that leads the courtyard to the backyard. So I do end up making a sort of area off to the side, and I'm going to end up adding a dining table and a grill over here where I'm building. But first I build this foundation to sort of extend it because I did want the terrain to look sort of connected, and I like to make sure that they're not huge slopes, and if there are slopes, they're covered up by plants because I just want it to be so cohesive. So that's what I'm trying to do over there. And I'm adding my flooring, of course, and here I am extending it because see how there's that little hill over there. I'm gonna try to get rid of that by extending the foundation piece, and it wasn't cooperating with me at first, but I figured out how to make it work after a few tries. There we go. So now I'm just extending the foundation piece over to the side, and first I'm gonna add I wanted to add fencing, but I couldn't find any that worked. So I did end up using a half wall, and then I used a dine out piece that kind of stuck up from the half wall to make it look like a fence. So it's like a partial fence. So you see me doing that right here, and I really liked that. And I'm adding the terrain paints. I wanted the entrance to be super, super grand. So I did go with that whole roundabout kind of theme. And I do end up putting a fountain and a bunch of plants, pretty flowers in the middle there. So I just really, really wanted to make it seem grand because to me, the entrance of the house can prove how amazing and grand it is, you know? So I just wanted to show how fancy the house was going to be on the inside by showing how great it looks on the outside. And I'm creating these little backspace areas over here in the squares, and one of them is going to be a pool, and then one of them is just going to be a sort of seating area. And what I'm doing right now is I'm sort of extending with the terrain a little path throughout that backyard area there. And I use a method that I learned from SimKim. I love her building. I love her landscaping and her terrain work. What she does is she has these little paths that kind of squiggle into these giant round circles, and the circles are where you can place sort of like whatever you want. So one of the circles I made into a fire pit, and one I made into just a little seating area with a few umbrella tables, and I just thought it's so much fun. It adds a lot to the landscape, and it just adds so much space because really the landscape beside the house makes a huge difference in what the house looks like, and I think that it can play a huge role in that. So I add a bunch of those little paths that kind of snake off from the backyard, and I'm adding a gazebo right here, and the gazebo connects to the other path, and this is the second path, and this one kind of leads right into the water because I decided to add a water feature right now because I was like, there's so much space, and it's very hard for me to resist the water feature because I think they're so beautiful. And honestly, my favorite part about the water feature is adding the rocks because I love the debug rocks, and it's so much fun to me. I know it's a pain to a lot of people, but for me, the landscaping is one of the most fun things to do. And just the challenge of adding the rocks in such a way that they cover up the entire wall of the pool. It's just something about that is so much fun to me, and I do spend a lot of time on this, so I'm sorry, you can skip ahead if this is too slow for you because it is a very long process and very intricate, but it's just one of my favorite things to do. And I'm a little saddened that The Sims 4 did not come with sort of the same pond tool that The Sims 3 came with, because that was so easy to create a pond. But now that The Sims 4 only has a pool tool, the challenge is creating a realistic looking pond with rocks. But I do think that's kind of fun because we've never really been able to do something like that. So I just thought that it's such a cool opportunity to kind of learn to make one thing into something else. Like I said, with the blinds turning into the shutters, the same thing is like this. We're making a pool and a bunch of rocks look like a realistic pond. And the rocks make it really easy, and the flooring tool also helps because I can make a rocky flooring at the bottom, which I do in a little bit, and that makes the pool look a little bit more realistic, like it would be a pond. And then what I do with the other pool on the other side, the actual swimming pool, is I make the color of the ground a little bit darker so it like looks different than the pond, and I make the water on the pond into a different color like I just did. I made it into a get together color surface, and then the other pool I don't change the color surface, so it just looks sort of different. And I like how we can really differentiate between what we intend to be a pool and what we intend to be a natural pond or lake. So yes, I'm adding the fountain, and I'm getting ready to do my landscaping, one of my favorite parts of The Sims. My favorite thing is just adding the plants, making it work. Landscaping makes a huge difference from a bland build to a beautiful build, so I really just love to take that opportunity to make the house come to whole nother level. So right now I'm doing, also I learned this from SimKim, I'm doing the turn the bushes into kind of a circle by connecting them all and rotating them. And I think that was just a super cool way to kind of change up the whole way that you can do landscaping in The Sims. You don't just have to create diagonals and straight lines. You can use circles, and you can use round edges with the tools that we have. I love move objects. I love the debug objects. I love all the cheats that you can just use to make these beautiful, beautiful houses that honestly, they weren't possible in other Sims. Like, you could still make pretty houses, but in The Sims 3, I don't think my builds were ever as detailed as the ones I've been doing in The Sims 4. And I really appreciate that, how the game has just evolved over time. And maybe in The Sims 5, when that does come out, we could have even more options and more ways to make our builds just super detailed and unique and creative. So I'm really excited to see what happens with that. And here I am using my method where I use the main bushes to kind of block the foundation, and then I use the decorative bushes to kind of cover it up and kind of make it cohesive so that it's not just a bush and then nothing. It's a bush that continues into more plant, and that's kind of what I did here. And that's what I do in a lot of my builds, and I know a lot of builders kind of have their go-to objects. And this bush is definitely one of my go-to objects. It's easy to curve, and I do try to use different things, like this main bush that I use over here, not the one that is up against the foundation, but the one that kind of covers a lot of area that comes from Island Living, I believe, and I don't usually use it, but I just thought, why not? Like, I want to do something a little bit different, and a lot of the times I use that kind of succulent looking plant that comes with Get Together, but I said, nope, I'm gonna change it up. I usually don't do a bunch of those little multicolored flower bushes like I'm doing here, but I thought it looks so pretty when other builders use it, so I thought I would give it a shot. And I wouldn't use it every time, but I do think that it really makes the landscaping look super manicured and beautiful, so I did decide to go with that, and I think it worked out pretty well because it's a great thing that is able to border the landscape pieces like this, but then also it can fit into those tiny little crevices there, like I'm making around each of the square yard areas. So I do spend quite a little bit of time on this because I want to make it a variety of flowers. I don't just want to be the same flower that's not really natural. And same with rocks. Like the way I want to do rocks is that I would want to kind of position them in a way so that it's not the same rock repeating over and over again. And here I'm adding singular bushes because some of the spaces around and curved spaces can't really fit those long ones. So I do try to, incorporate some other big ones. And here I am creating a little bit more landscaping space because I'm going to be adding trees now, because I do like trees in the build because it can really add balance to the tallness of the build, because a lot of builds are super tall in the air, but then they're surrounded by super low bushes and flowers like this one is. And I really want to balance it out because in the background with trees and on the trees to the side of it can really make a big difference. So I'm about to do that, and I want to make trees that kind of match the area around the build on the lot. So I know you could place this on any other lot, but in the lots that I'm building in, I usually place them there for a reason, and it's because I kind of wanted to, I imagine that this house would go in this sort of world because it's the same style. So I am finding some debug trees that fit into the surrounding build. So I do end up taking that willow tree out because that's more of a I think Willow Creek kind of tree, and I wanted to do more that fit into Brindleton Bay, so that's what I end up doing. And then I'm creating a space back here with some plants. I always like to surround most of the structure with plants. I think it looks a lot better because if you think about it, when you look at your house, or in most houses, the foundation, it's not just grass foundation. A lot of houses are decorated around with at least dirt, even if they don't have plants, at least dirt, because when you build a house, you have to dig into the foundation. So houses are usually surrounded by dirt, and then sometimes people put plants up around it. So I do try to make the house look like that. And I'm doing the interior now. I'm figuring out kind of the whole layout, and that's one of my favorite things to do. And then I sort of go in my usual order of a kitchen, dining room, living room, because those are my favorite rooms to decorate in the house. And then after that, I'm just like, okay, I'm done. But I do try to do as much detail as I can before I get tired of it. So I'm kind of figuring out the layout of the bedrooms here, figuring out the number of them, and then I go back downstairs. Here's a little area that I'm going to create off to the side. That's going to be our little dining area off of the kitchen. So what I did over here in the kitchen is I made this sort of half wall, and I used a divider on top of the half wall to go up the rest of the wall, and so you can kind of see through it, and that is from dining out. And I just thought that was such a creative kind of way to make a little separation in the room, but not a complete separation. And I liked doing that, something kind of different that I usually don't do. So I'm doing the kitchen here, and I figured might as well have that giant island. I love islands with kitchens. And I wanted to put a dining room off to the side. So this house, however big it is, it doesn't have a proper separate dining room, but it does have that little dining table off to the side. And there is also a dining area outside of this room from those doors off to the side. So there is more seating area space. And I'm sizing down the dishwasher so I can fit some stuff under the counter and make it look kind of cute. Like there's this whole area that's not surrounded by, that doesn't have a counter under it, so I kind of put some things underneath there and make it look like it's a little area that doesn't have the drawers but still has the counter, because I know that's a thing that you can do in real life, but in Sims it's not really a thing. So I just decided to, change it up a little bit, make the kitchen look a little different than it would normally look like. And here I am adding a little dining table. I guess I took a while to figure out which one I wanted because there's some light wood in the room. There's white with the windows, and the counters are white, and the columns are white, but then there's also that dark cabinet and dark floor. So I did try to find a balance of that. And now I'm figuring out where to put the island chairs, because if you see that third one on the left there is kind of running into the column, but I thought, oh well. So now I'm figuring out the wallpaper. That took me a few minutes. I always struggle with the wallpaper a little bit because I always have this urge to match the siding with the floor, but sometimes I just have to say, no, you're not going to do that this time. This wall color is better, because you can't find every perfect wall color with the perfect siding color. So I said, you know what, like the crowning does not have to match the floor, so I just went with that white color, because that white comes with so many colors that match the walls. So like all those wall options that the brown crowning just does not come with. So yeah, I decided to go for it, and here I'm creating my little TV structure. I love creating things like this because it's just something that has not come with The Sims, but we can make our own, and that's one of the things that I love about it. And now I'm just placing some clutter. First I do plants, then I do lights, I do some candles just to light it up a little bit there. And that's what I'll usually do because it kind of gets dark in between these shelves, especially if there's no lighting there. Then I add some other random decor items, some books, some pictures like I normally would. Tissue box. I usually don't add tissue boxes, but I did this time, and I added the cards there to the side, which I love so much because I don't know about you guys, but definitely in my house, fireplace or like TV stand, that's definitely the area where you would put your cards. And I don't know if everyone displays their cards out like that, but my family does. So I just thought of a little cute detail to add, and perfect little thing to kind of clutter the place up and make it seem like, a family does actually live here. And this room is super big for a living room, so I did kind of struggle with what to put behind this area over here. I do end up putting some more chairs, but different chairs, and a couple tables facing the TV also, because I figured I kind of wanted it to still be filled up. And I attached a doorway to that other room. That room is going to be the fireplace room, so this is more of the family room, and that room is more of the living room. So yeah, over here I am making it kind of a green theme, and on the other side near the study and the bar area, I make that more of a red theme. And I like to have the house kind of have different colors. I know it's annoying when the rooms right next to each other are super different contrasting colors, so I try not to do that, but I try to make it, a little bit of a variation. And it's always important for rooms not to just have one color. Like the main color here is green, but there's also gray and beige and kind of mint green as well. So I do like to change it up a little bit. And I figured, what do I put in this hallway? Because it's sort of an awkward hallway. It gets super long on the side, and then there's this little kind of corner area. Put a piano. I think a piano is a perfect thing to fill the space because it takes up enough room that you don't feel like you have a huge empty space, but it still looks nice and it still fills the room and stuff. So it's kind of perfect for me. And I have the fireplace area over here. I'm trying to figure out what colors to use, and I do go with the green. I usually wouldn't put a different green couch right next to that other green seating area, but it's in a different room, so I figured it's okay, and it's not the same exact green, so I do kind of make that room a little bit of a different color scheme, kind of that darker green with that beige, and I do add the fireplace to add to that dark wood kind of color. And yes, figuring out the fencing up there, I have a hard time matching the fencing with the inner fencing with the fencing on the stairs, because the fencing I wanted to use, the one that I used for the exterior, doesn't come with matching stair railings, which is a little bit annoying, but I know not all of them come with it. And now I'm trying to figure out kind of this entrance area. Kind of want it to resemble a little bit of a mudroom. So I add the little umbrella thing and the coat thing from Seasons, and I just add this little side table here, and I do end up kind of just filling with a few little clutter things, just kind of things that would be kind of sitting there when you enter your house. And I think I end up adding some pots, I don't know, just kind of for decoration. But it does take me a few minutes to figure out what I want to do with this. But, yep, I end up figuring it out. And, there's that whole empty wall over there, so I just decided to add a bookshelf, and some plants, just kind of a hallway sort of things, I don't know. This is sort of a big hallway for a house, so I thought might as well just try to fill it with whatever I can think of. Some lights do take up some wall space, paintings add some decoration, and over here I added something that doesn't really exactly match the style of the house, but I still kind of liked doing it because it took up some space and it added some detail. I added the marble things over here, and I know that's usually used for modern houses, but I just thought it was kind of cool. And here, I take so long with the lights. I first want to add the mason jar lights that came with Parenthood, but after spending a lot of time doing that, I figure I do not like it. It's very crooked, so I just go with the base gift lights. Those are my go-to. And then I add a little chandelier over here, or just a little light fixture on the ceiling. I like doing that over the dining table. Don't necessarily like doing it most places in the house because at least when I'm in gameplay, I don't do gameplay that much, but when I do, I don't like the ceiling lights being in the way, so I do try to use the wall lights as much as possible. And now I'm adding the curtains. Curtains are something that I often forget, so I do try to remember as much as I can. But it doesn't always happen, but it is something that's cute that you can add a little detail to a house. And something that you would theoretically have in your house, because most windows, especially windows in bedrooms and in bright rooms, like kind of like the living room in this house, it has so many lights and just so much, and I don't want it to, theoretically in the real world, you wouldn't want to get super bright and hurt your eyes, so you would have just some curtains or some blinds covering that. So now I'm doing the outdoor bar area. I'm going to do an indoor bar area right next to it, but that's going to be in a little bit. And I'm just adding some little details here, just some things that would be outside. And I use some dine out racks for the drinks. And I just add some lighting here. Oh, and I end up lighting the entire house around because I forget to do this sometimes, and I just think it makes a huge difference at night if it's super pretty outside with some beautiful lights that just give it life at night. And yes, admittedly, I do add a lot of the little floor lights, outdoor lights. I know it kind of looks like too much. It does a good job lighting it up at night, but during the day it just looks like a lot of random kind of twigs, weird white twigs sticking up from the ground. So if that does bother you, you can take it out. Now I'm doing study, and like I said, it's kind of a red theme over here, so I do end up adding red walls, and I do a little red chairs with the desk, and right now I'm cluttering the desk, and cluttering is one of my favorite things to do. I love it so much. So I'm just adding a bunch of random objects and using the method of placing it on the table there, then moving the table away, and then hitting Alt, and while I'm holding Alt, dragging the object to the area where I want it to be, kind of on top of that desk area over there. So I add some lamps just to make it be realistic, and then I spend so much time on this shelf because all the lamps and all the plants were just snapping to the top of it, and I'm like, I don't want these plants to be on top. I want them to be on this shelf. And it was such a struggle for some reason. It's more challenging than most of my clutter work has been in the past, so I don't know what was up with that. Oh, and that board that I placed there, that notes board, came with Discover University, and it is my favorite thing to use in the office because not only is it a calendar, but it's also a corkboard, and I just think that's a great thing you would have in your office just for planning purposes. So here I am, just putting finishing touches on most of the windows. I wanted to add enough curtains, and I did not want to forget curtains in any room. It's embarrassing when I have curtains on most of the room and then I forget, like, this one window in the corner looks kind of awkward, and I'm like, well, guess that whole window doesn't matter enough to have a curtain around it or a blind, but that's okay. And I wanted to make this room kind of red too, but I didn't want it to be the same exact thing, so I do end up making it into a wine red because I decided to make this the indoor bar area that connects to the outdoor bar area. And I know, what a fancy house, what a rich Sims to own a house that has two bar areas right next to each other, one for inside and one for outside, but figured I had enough space, didn't know what else to put here. I was gonna put a living room at first, but then I thought there's already so many sitting areas, so I don't really need more. So I wanted a bathroom to go right here, but then I also figured I should make that big space a gym because there's just so much space and I don't know what else to put there. So I decided to turn this area into a gym and then have that back area in the corner that I'm putting the light in right now to have the showers, and then the normal bathroom is the one that attaches to the outside of the hallway, and that will just be kind of the half bath. So that will have the toilet and the sink, and then that will connect to the showers. So if people want to use the toilet from the gym, they just go through the shower area and into the toilet area. So it would be a little bit weird for people who just went to the powder room, because they would be sitting there on the toilet wondering what does this door lead to, and then they go into a gym bathroom with showers that leads them into a gym. So that's a little bit awkward, but I mean, I think it's really convenient for the people who would be using the gym if they do need to use the restroom. So I do add some sinks into the shower area also, so they don't necessarily have to go to the toilet room to wash their hands. But I do add some little details here, some laundry and some shelves. And then I decided I also want to add some towels, and I like that towel rack because it goes with this empty one. So I just figured I'd put those two objects there on those racks, and then the towels would be above them. And one of my favorite things to add to a gym is the windows, or not the window, the mirrors, because you know, when you would typically think of a gym, you'd think of mirrors, you know, just for watching your form, or just, I don't know, checking your muscles out maybe. I don't know. But the one thing that does bother me is that it covers up, like you see, it covers up the bathroom, because when I do cutaway walls, the mirrors still show. So that does bother me a little bit, and I would have put them on the right or the left sides in the wall so it doesn't cover as much. But those are there are windows there, and I really want the biggest space, the biggest wall space, to be covered by mirrors. So I just figured, why not? So I did cover most of that wall with mirrors, and then some of the other wall too. And over here, because I add speakers, I wanted to add some towels that I theoretically would use them as yoga mats. So kind of yoga mats in front of the mirrors. So if you want to make sure you're doing your poses right, those are some things that can kind of your Sims theoretically would use. I guess they wouldn't really use them for yoga. They would probably use them for relaxing because they're beach towels, but theoretically they would be yoga mats. I'm just adding a little seating area over here, kind of cute. I would think it's like a reading nook or something, because it's just off to the side, a little quiet, a little secluded. So I just thought that was kind of cute to add there. And above this, I actually make it a bathroom. So I love, love, love the octagonal bathrooms, because they're just so pretty, and it is a little bit awkward with the windows open, but I just thought it was the perfect thing to add as an ensuite. And here I'm adding the chairs in the back, like I mentioned, just to add a little bit more space. And I would add a chess table, which I usually add if I just have extra space, but I already added that to the room with the fireplace, so didn't want to add too many chess tables. It's kind of weird. And here I am making the pool a little bit darker to make it stand out, look different than the lake. And then I'm just adding some chairs, and I do spend a lot of time adding just lounging chairs and just decorating the backyard. So that is what I end up doing for quite a little bit of time. And here, of course, I'm being conscious again about my lighting. I like the pool to be bright. Adding some rafts now too. Just some decorative details. And here's the outdoor cooking area and dining area. That's just off the kitchen. I thought it was a good place to add it because it's a little bit secluded from the rest of the outdoor area, and it's right off of the kitchen, so it's perfect. I hate when I have to add the grill like on the opposite side from where the kitchen is on the house, just because that's where the outdoor space is. So I just thought it would be perfect to add it there. And here's my little bonfire area. Theoretically, Sims could have like s'mores here, but I think this bonfire is not really for that because it comes with get together. I'm pretty sure you just like throw stuff in it or something. I don't even know. Now I'm having my living room area over here, my outdoor living room. And I spent a little bit of time figuring out what I want to add here, but I do make it a green theme because, you know, it just matches the outdoor colors really well. And I add that little coffee table. I think it looks like it has a little burner in the middle, so I was like, oh, I can like warm them if they're cold outside. So I don't know. And just some lights. I love those island living lights because they're also very detailed. They kind of look like sculptures, like pieces of art, because they have these little swirlies along them, and I like that. And here I was gonna add one table here, but then I was like, shoot, this is a big space, so I added 3 because why not? You know, you can have a big outdoor party here. Like, honestly, this backyard would be like a perfect place for like a wedding venue. Like, if you added the arch somewhere, the wedding arch, then it would be so beautiful. So maybe you buy this house, put a little arch in, and use it as the location of your wedding too. That's how big it is, I guess. And some planting areas over here. Didn't add any plants, but you can always add them with show hidden objects cheat, or you can add them with, you know, just gameplay and have your Sims plant stuff there. And now I'm adding more lights. All I do is use these ground lights that I already used, raise them up a little bit, put them on top of the railings and just the fence areas. And just some more lighting. Now I'm adding some more furniture just to the front. And I do end up adding furniture to the upstairs balcony. I don't think I show it, but it's basically the same thing. I use the little couch that I've been using a lot, and I use the lounging chairs on top as well. And now I'm using the debug to put cars in. I want to make this area very clear, you know. This is where the garage is going to be. That's the courtyard area. Added some trash to make it realistic. And then I do not want to forget the mailbox. I always tell myself trash mailbox because I do forget. I don't know why I forget. Like, that should be kind of a basic thing in a house, but I forget. I don't know. So now I'm doing the game room, and this is the room that technically would be the garage. It has that garage door from the outside, but what I do is I put a little door from the outside, so that's the way the Sims can enter. The door on the side there. So I'm trying to make this kind of funky, adding some different sized lights, and I love these lights. They do a really good job lighting the area up. And upstairs I add a kind of a game room but like with video games, so a TV area. I like these black couches, they're super sleek. And I just thought this was a little cute hideaway, kind of like just a place to play some games separate from the house. And I think this is the last thing that I do. So you will be able to see an overview of the build in a couple seconds. And I really am impressed with how I did this house, because when I started it, I was like, oh, this might not work. And I do that with a lot of my houses. I sort of started to doubt myself, but I think that as long as you just keep trying and don't give up on your builds, you'll end up with a build that you're impressed with and a build that you are satisfied with and that you like. So I would just say, if you're struggling with building, just keep on working it, because you will get better, it will get easier. And if you see that trellis area over there, I did add that off camera, I apologize, but it took way too much time getting rid of the tiles and adding all the plants in the right place. But that's just something I would normally do with, you know, the little short fence. And then I would just add some plants on top, some flowers. And yep, this is the whole build. So I really hope you guys enjoyed watching, and if you have any suggestions for me, things for me to build, let me know. And I'm about to show you guys the interior of the house, just kind of the layout. So of course I don't furnish any of the bedrooms, but I did do the bathrooms upstairs, and then I did do that game room to the side, and then the whole downstairs area. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. Bye. Oh, and also one more thing. If you do want to download this house, it is on my gallery. My username is Ray3501. So if you want to, check it out, and I'd really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.